Welcome to our deep dive into the chemistry of coffee roasting. We've got 5 fascinating facts you said us about how those plain green beans turn into that brew we all love.
Yeah, it's amazing how much science is packed into each little bean.
It really
I
is.
mean, we're not talking about different brewing methods today.
Right.
It's really about what happens inside the bean as it's roasting.
So, okay, let's get into it. That first fact is about pyrolysis
Uh-huh.
and how that changes the bean's chemistry.
Right.
Pyrolysis, it
Yeah.
sounds kind of intense.
It is. Imagine like a piece of wood and carefully charring it.
Okay,
That's essentially what pyrolysis is doing to the coffee bean.
interesting.
It uses high heat to break down those complex molecules
Yeah.
into smaller, simpler ones.
Okay.
And that's really the foundation of the whole roasting process.
So is it kind of like how different types of wood create different charcoal flavors?
Exactly.
Like, could different coffee beans react differently to pyrolysis too?
Absolutely. Green coffee beans are hard and grassy smelling.
Yeah.
But pyrolysis really kicks off that chain reaction that unlocks those great flavors and aromas we associate with roasted coffee.
Yeah.
And just like with wood, each variety of coffee bean will have its own unique chemical makeup,
Yeah.
which leads to different flavor profiles after pyrolysis.
That makes so much sense. Now, the second fact you sent is about Maillard reactions. And I know
Oh.
those are a big deal in cooking.
They are.
But are they happening inside the bean too?
They are, absolutely. Maillard reactions are these incredible chemical dances between amino acids and sugars,
Okay.
and they create hundreds of new flavor and aroma compounds,
Wow.
adding incredible complexity.
So-
Think about the crust of a perfectly baked bread,
Mm.
or that sear on a steak.
Okay.
That's Maillard reaction.
So you're saying that my coffee in the morning and my steak dinner have something in common?
They absolutely do. It happens in all sorts of foods, from
Right.
chocolate to roasted nuts.
Okay.
And yes, even in coffee.
That's amazing.
It's one of the key reasons why a freshly roasted bean smells so good. It
Yeah.
has such a rich, layered taste.
Oh, cool.
And the longer you roast, the more these reactions develop,
Right.
leading to darker roasts with bolder flavors.
This is already blowing my mind. Okay, so we've got pyrolysis breaking down molecules.
Right.
We've got Maillard reactions creating complexity.
Yep.
What about that incredible aroma? That's what always gets me.
Ah, yes. That brings us to our third fact. Volatile compounds, these tiny molecules, easily evaporate into the air.
Uh-huh.
And guess what they are? What we smell.
Interesting.
As those beans heat up during roasting,
Yeah.
these aromatic compounds are released,
Gotcha.
creating that signature coffee aroma we all know and love.
I've always wondered why coffee smells so much stronger than other foods. Is it just because it has more of these volatile compounds?
It's partly that, but also the types of volatile compounds.
Okay.
Over 800 have been identified in roasted coffee.
Wow. 800.
It's a
Wow.
really complex symphony of aromas,
Yeah.
which explains why different roasts have such distinct smells,
Right.
and why we might describe one coffee as nutty and another as floral.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got all these compounds floating around.
Yeah,
Does that mean that the roast level affects how strong the aroma is?
you're spot on. That leads right into fact number 4. Roast levels.
Okay.
The longer you roast those beans,
Yeah.
the darker they get, and the more these chemical changes occur,
Interesting.
including the release of volatile compounds.
Yeah.
So light roasts tend to have more delicate, nuanced aromas,
Uh-huh.
while darker roasts are bolder and often have smoky or even spicy notes.
It's like choosing your own aromatic adventure.
Exactly.
Now, I tend to go for lighter roasts, but I've noticed that even within a roast level,
Right.
there could be a lot of variation.
Absolutely. Why
Well-
is that? That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Unlike something like pharmaceuticals,
Yep.
which has strict guidelines,
Right.
roast levels in the coffee world aren't standardized.
Oh, wow. So
What one roaster calls medium might be considered light by another.
interesting.
It's all about their individual style and the specific characteristics they're trying to bring out in the beans.
So it's a bit of an art form.
Absolutely. There's a lot of science involved, but also intuition and experience.
Okay.
Master roasters use their senses and knowledge of those chemical reactions to create unique flavor profiles.
Yeah,
It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
it really is.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the chemical reactions happening inside the bean,
Uh-huh.
the impact of roast levels.
Yeah.
What about the physical structure of the bean itself?
Okay.
Does that change during roasting too?
It absolutely does.
And how so?
That leads us perfectly into your fifth fact.
Yeah.
The bean's structure, as
Okay.
it roasts,
Mhm.
those cell walls start to crack and break down.
Really?
Kind of like tiny fault lines appearing.
What happens when that happens?
Think of it like this. Inside those cells are all those precious oils and aromas we've been talking about.
Right.
Roasting essentially unlocks them,
Okay.
allowing them to escape.
Gotcha.
And those are the very compounds that dissolve in water when you brew,
Yeah.
creating that delicious cup you enjoy.
So fascinating. I think that all these tiny changes lead to that first sip.
It really is.
Now, is there anything else that happens to the bean structure that we might notice?
Well, have you ever noticed that bloom?
The bloom.
That happens when you first pour hot water over your coffee grounds.
Yeah. Like they puff up for a second?
Exactly. That's actually caused by carbon dioxide gas that was trapped inside the beans during roasting.
Oh, wow.
It's a visual reminder of all those amazing transformations that have happened.
That's incredible. I'm looking at my coffee in a whole new light now.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh, really?
There's so much more to explore about the chemistry of coffee roasting.
I can't wait to dive deeper.
Me too.
But before we do, any final thoughts for our listener on this first part of our deep dive?
I'd say next time you brew a cup, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey those beans have been on.
Yeah,
From a hard green state to a rich aromatic brew.
it's pretty amazing.
It's a testament to the power of chemistry and the artistry of roasting.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break.
Yep.
And we'll be right back to continue our deep dive into the fascinating world of coffee roasting chemistry.
Sounds great. It's really remarkable how the science of coffee roasting connects to so many other fields.
Yeah, how so?
Well, we've been talking about how roasters carefully manipulate temperature and time
Right.
to develop specific flavors.
Uh-huh.
That kind of precise control reminds me of the pharmaceutical industry,
Really?
where they have to be incredibly meticulous in creating safe and effective drugs.
That's a really interesting parallel.
Yeah,
I never thought about coffee roasting in that context.
it's really fascinating.
So, are there actual regulations around coffee roasting like there are for pharmaceuticals?
Not to the same extent, no.
Okay.
But there are definitely quality control measures and industry standards.
Gotcha.
Roasters take great care in selecting their beans,
Yeah.
monitoring every stage of the roasting process,
Okay.
and even conducting taste tests to ensure consistency and quality.
So it's all about delivering the best possible cup of coffee to the consumer.
Exactly.
It makes sense. People are pretty passionate about their coffee.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a drink.
Right.
It's a ritual,
Uh-huh.
a source of energy,
Yeah.
a moment of enjoyment.
Exactly. And speaking of rituals and enjoyment,
Okay?
remember how we talked about those 800 volatile compounds in coffee?
Yeah.
Well, some of those compounds might have more than just an aromatic effect.
Oh, like what?
Research suggests that some volatile compounds in coffee may actually have antioxidant properties.
Really?
Yep. Antioxidants help protect our cells from damage caused by free radicals.
So in addition to that delicious aroma,
Yeah.
those compounds might be doing our bodies a favor.
It's definitely an area worth exploring further.
That's awesome.
And it really highlights how even simple everyday pleasures,
Right?
like enjoying a cup of coffee, can have a deeper impact on our well-being.
I love that. It's like a little bonus hidden in each sip.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the importance of selecting the right beans.
Uh-huh.
Does the type of bean play a major role in the final flavor?
Absolutely.
Or is it mostly about the roasting?
Both are crucial. Remember how we talked about how different wood types yield unique charcoal flavors?
Yeah.
It's the same with coffee.
Oh, interesting.
Each variety of bean has its own inherent characteristics,
Okay.
influenced by factors like genetics,
Okay.
growing conditions,
Yeah.
and processing methods.
So it's sort of like terroir in wine.
Exactly. Terroir is a French term that encompasses all those environmental factors
Right.
that contribute to the unique flavor of a crop.
Yeah.
And just like wine coffee from different regions will have distinct flavor profiles,
Okay.
even before they're roasted.
That's amazing. I never knew coffee had its own terroir.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Like each cup tells a story about the place it came from.
Precisely.
Wow.
And that's what makes exploring different coffees so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a journey through geography,
Yeah.
culture, and of course, chemistry.
This is all so eye-opening. I feel like I'm learning something new with every sentence.
That's great.
Before we move on to our final part,
Uh-huh.
any other nuggets of wisdom you want to share with our listener?
I'd say keep experimenting.
Okay.
Try different roasts.
Yeah.
Different origins.
Mm-hmm.
Different brewing methods.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone and discover new flavors.
Right.
Who knows, you might even stumble upon your new favorite cup.
That's a great tip. It's pretty amazing to think about all these reactions happening inside this tiny bean.
Yeah.
It makes me think about all the complex processes going on inside our own bodies.
That's a great point. Our bodies are like incredible chemistry labs,
Yeah.
constantly breaking down molecules and building new ones.
It's crazy to think about.
It's amazing.
We were talking about those Maillard reactions earlier that give coffee that rich flavor.
Right.
Do those happen in our bodies at all?
They do. Think about when you get a suntan. That browning of your skin is actually a result of Maillard reactions happening at the surface.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So the same chemistry that makes my coffee taste so good is responsible for my summer tan.
It really is.
That's pretty cool.
It shows how the principles of chemistry are at play everywhere, from the food we eat to the way our bodies function.
Yeah, it makes you appreciate the interconnectedness of it all.
Absolutely.
You know, we were talking in the last episode about how the FDA has these detailed guidelines for food safety, even down to the number of insect fragments allowed in certain products.
Yeah, they do.
And you talked about something called action levels.
Right.
What are those again?
Admin levels are basically these thresholds set by the FDA for naturally occurring contaminants in food.
Okay.
Like, it's impossible to eliminate these contaminants entirely.
Right.
So they use scientific research to determine safe levels.
So it's kind of a balance between keeping things safe but also realistic?
Exactly.
Okay.
They have to consider things like the average person's consumption and the potential health risks.
Yes.
It's definitely a complex process, but it ensures that the food we eat meets high safety standards.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground today.
I know, right?
From those initial chemical reactions in the bean all the way to the FDA, making sure that our coffee is safe to drink.
It's a fascinating journey.
Is there anything else you think our listeners should know about the world of coffee?
Well, we've talked a lot about how the roast level impacts flavor.
Right.
But there's another factor that I think often gets overlooked.
Oh, what's that?
And that's the freshness of the beans.
So it's not just about finding the right roast. Freshness matters too.
Freshness is key. Remember those volatile compounds that create all those aromas?
Yeah.
Well, they're called volatile for a reason. They evaporate over time.
So the fresher the beans, the better.
Exactly. The fresher the beans, the more of those aromatic compounds are present.
Okay.
And the more flavorful your coffee will be.
So I should really be paying attention to the roast date when I buy my coffee.
Absolutely. Look for beans that have been roasted recently.
Okay.
And once you've got them, store them properly in an airtight container to preserve those precious aromas.
This has been so eye-opening.
It's been a pleasure.
I feel like I've unlocked this whole new level of coffee appreciation.
It's a fascinating world, isn't it?
It really is. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
You're very welcome.
And to all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
keep exploring.
Keep learning.
And most importantly, keep enjoying that delicious cup of coffee.
Cheers to that.